Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play the entirety of this video, and then I will go back and talk about things that are going on and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. Without further ado, here we go.
The information, audio, and visuals you are about to see are intended to provide details of an officer-involved shooting which occurred on the 27th of April, 2021 at about 9:10 p.m. in the 2000 block of Felice Drive. This video is graphic in nature, contains strong language, and is highly disturbing. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. On Tuesday, April 27th at 8:43 p.m., officers attempted to stop a vehicle that had been reported as stolen on April 23rd. The vehicle was traveling eastbound on Highway 58, east of Cottonwood Road. The pursuit lasted approximately 30 seconds.
Unit 3, can you clear the channel? We have a photo yield.
10-4, code 33, channel 1, code 33, channel 1. Location?
You're eastbound 58, coming up to Mount Vernon. No traffic. No cuts. Speed's at 80.
Copy, speeds at 80.
Unit 3, can you copy King Mary 6, Henry Yellow?
Any units start that way?
10, copy. What's the offense? King 14 is 10851, 2000 Chevy Silverado.
Got this. Location?
I'm launching.
The vehicle failed to yield to officers and left the roadway, traveling southbound across the embankment through a chain-link fence and stopped when it struck a concrete wall. The suspect fled on foot into a residential area, and officers began to set up a perimeter to contain him.
Suspect is on Padre eastbound.
Copy, suspect is on Padre eastbound.
White male, black cutoff t-shirt.
White male, black cutoff t-shirt. 3 Metro 1, are you with Unit 1?
3 Metro 1, inform our team to locate.
Unit 3, let's go ahead and unit push down to police. Oh, that south end. There's any way eastbound on Padre. Not having been sight yet. 353 next unit, get to 58 South Washington. The unit after that, get to police for the south.
An overhead map shows the location of the crashed vehicle and path of flight of the suspect. Additional officers began to arrive in the area and requested the assistance of the Kern County Sheriff's Office patrol helicopter, Air 1.
Go ahead.
We're at 97 now, sir. Where would you like us to start our search for information? We're still waiting for clear to cool down.
Copy. Let me locate the house, but if you get my light, this is the general area. Let me fine tune it a little bit.
Air 1, I got him. He's now going to be eastbound through the yard. One residence east of coming back out in a southeast direction. King 14, stay there. King 14, stay there. Just to the west of you, running southbound now. Running southbound out to Felice and back northbound. Air 1, still running northbound through the yards. Code 33, channel 1. Northbound through the yards.
At this time, the only police unit with sight of the suspect is Air 1, and no ground units were in pursuit. Our first body camera video from the involved canine handler begins as Air 1 is directing officers to where the suspect continues to flee in the rear yard of a residence in the 2000 block of Felice Drive. This occurs at 9:07 p.m.
Please, canine, you're gonna get bit! Stop running! Here! Go! Can't.
At this time, there are no officers west of the suspect or in the same backyard as the suspect. The first 3 gunshots heard are fired by the suspect.
Empty! Drop it! Here! Diggle, here!
Police canines are utilized by their human partners to assist in suspect detection and, in some circumstances, apprehension. During the course of the pursuit of the auto theft suspect, officers had no specific information that the suspect was armed with a firearm prior to him discharging it. There is an inherent risk while pursuing any suspect that they may be armed. An additional officer discharged their firearm after the suspect fired 3 gunshots. At this time, only 2 officers are in direct sight of the suspect. This is the second officer's body camera footage.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
Officers began life-saving measures on the suspect. However, medical aid declared him deceased at the scene. The police canine was transported to an area veterinarian hospital for treatment, but succumbed to his gunshot injuries. As officers approached the suspect, they kicked the firearm away from his hand. Inspection of the suspect's firearm, a revolver, indicated it had been fired 3 times.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun now! Drop the gun now!
Hey, stay on him.
I got him. I'll stay on him. His finger's on the trigger. I got him.
Don't fucking move!
Come on for information.
This is an ongoing investigation. Conclusions about the involved officers' actions with regard to law and policy will not be made until all facts are known and the investigation is complete.
All right, let's get back into it.
On Tuesday, April 26th,
All right. Well, actually, before this part,
concrete wall.
I forget exactly
This
where.
Padre, black cutoff t-shirt.
Well,
King 14 is 1051, 2000 ship. Copy, what's office?
Any units start the way.
10 copy, what's office? King 14 is 1051, 2000 Chevy Silverado.
so I'm not 100% sure who exactly is talking on the radio, who these designations are, but one person asked what the offense is, and that could be a supervisor trying to determine whether or not he needs to call for them to terminate the pursuit. But without knowing their particular radio call signs and how they designate those things, I really have no idea who they are. Each agency does their call signs different.
King Mary 6, Henry Yellow.
Unit 3, I mean,
What's office?
and then Paul Robert 10.
Any units start the way.
10 copy, what's office?
Like, I have no idea the difference between Unit 3 and a Paul Robert and a King. I would suspect that King 19, King 14, K is probably for K9 officer. PR, I highly doubt that's public relations officer number 10. So I really don't know. But that makes me think that this PR10 person is a supervisor, and he's trying to figure out if he needs to tell them to terminate the pursuit.
Just to the west of you, running south.
So this is the aerial that's involved here. Pretty urbanized environment. Looks like a really run down part of town. I mean, you can just kind of tell from the aerials on this. Some really bad looking properties. Doesn't appear as though they're kept up very well.
Southbound. Running southbound, running north.
Ground units were in pursuit. This Air 1 is directed to block.
Police canine, you're gonna get bit. Stop running.
He gets the dog over the fence. And it's always going to be a hindrance for dogs. They have to have that assistance in getting over the fence sometimes.
At this time, there are no officers west of the suspect or in the same backyard as the suspect. The first 3 gunshots heard are fired by the suspect.
So as he launches the dog over the fence, which is standard, I mean, the dogs can't climb very well. You got to get them over somehow. So he gets the dog over the fence. And as he is transitioning over the fence, this dude starts shooting. The dog, unfortunately, has been shot. And the dog runs to safety.
Drop it! Drop it! Here! Dingle, here! It! Drop it! Drop it! Here! Dingle, here!
Police canines are utilized by mission. No specific. There is an additional officer.
All right, so we'll go back to the first guy. And that is a shitty situation to be in. Like, as you're straddling a damn fence going over it, boom, you hear gunshots. Like, that's got to be one of the suckiest feelings ever. He immediately starts engaging the bad guy. He delivers multiple rounds on target. He is decisive in his actions. He has decided to shoot, and damn it, he shoots. He is aggressive, and he has the right amount of aggressiveness and ruthlessness in fighting. I like that aspect of it. Now, as far as him holding on to this flashlight, I don't particularly care for that, and that is something that you'll actually see quite a bit, is when people go from using a utility light and then instantly a fight happens, they go to gun, and then they sometimes forget to jettison that gun out of their hand. I'm sorry, jettison that flashlight out of their hand. And when that happens, they try to put both hands together to get a traditional two-handed grip, but because that utility light is there, that impedes their ability to get a good two-handed grip on that gun. The remedy to this is to just drop that utility light. If your weapon has a weapon-mounted light, which his does because he activates it, then you have a light to fight with. That extra utility light just needs to be dropped and jettisoned. Get rid of it. It's not going to improve your accuracy at all. It's just going to hinder your ability to get good, accurate shots. Now, did it completely stop him from getting good, accurate shots? No. He put accurate rounds on this son of a bitch and took him out of the fight. To the extent of how accurate his rounds were, I don't fully know. I don't know exactly how many times he fired versus how many rounds hit target. He obviously put some incapacitating rounds on target while still holding this flashlight, but the accuracy, I would argue, would probably have been able to been better had he dropped this light out of both hands.
Drop it! Drop it! Here! Dingo, here!
Now, he's got a sight on him. He's fired multiple rounds. Looks like he might have got a headshot in on that last round. Maybe, not really sure.
Drop it! Drop it!
He's still giving those verbal commands for him to drop it, but then he turns and he puts his back to the guy to go check for the dog. I get it. I fully understand that love and compassion for the dog, but you don't want to, in this instance, turn your back on someone who's still got their hand on the gun and they have not been cleared yet. What I would have liked to have seen is him push left a little bit, get out of this guy's peripheral vision, and go ahead and conduct a magazine change, get his gun back into a better fighting condition than what it is. I mean, he's expended several rounds at this point. If he needs to fight some more, if he had a fresh magazine in there, all the better. Then I would have liked to seen him and another guy coordinate, moving in, disarming this guy, cuffing him, and then going and tending to the dog. But what his human eye can see is probably a lot better than what we can see through the lens of this camera. He might be able to see that he's got a good round square into his temple or something like that, and it's probably a pretty good indication that he's dead. However, with that being said, there have been people who've been shot in the head and have still been able to get up and get back in the fight. The FBI Miami shootout back in the 80s is a prime example of that. Two bank robbers got into a shootout with the FBI. Both of them were shot multiple times. One of them shot in the head at the very beginning of the gunfight, went down, and then woke back up in the middle of the gunfight and got back in the fight. The other one shot multiple times in different parts of his body and still able to fight. So it's always a good practice to, after a gunfight and the target's down, go ahead and cuff them up and get their hands cuffed behind their back. That way, if they were to wake back up and try to fight some more, they're going to be severely limited in their effectiveness and how they fight because their damn hands are cuffed behind their back. As far as flashlights and weapon lights go, so obviously, utility lights have their purpose. In this particular instance, this utility light is doing nothing for him. But his weapon-mounted light is providing pretty good illumination. And when it comes to weapon-mounted lights, you want a good weapon-mounted light. You don't want to skimp on that aspect of it. Yes, I know the Surefire lights are super expensive. The Streamlight pistol lights are still expensive. The Mod Light pistol lights are expensive. I get that, man. They are. They're pretty damn expensive. And when you're on a police officer, patrolman budget, or even a security guard budget, like, I get it. Like that, it's hard. It is hard to sometimes make ends meet when you're on those kind of budgets. But at the same time, you need quality gear. And if your agency is not providing it to you, then it is up to you to get that quality gear. If that means for a month or two not going out and eating out so many times, and that's you having to make a bunch of freaking ham sandwiches for work, then hey, you know what? Enjoy those fucking ham sandwiches and save the money and buy some good equipment, life-saving equipment. So weapon-mounted lights are something you just can't skimp on. You can't choose that $50 weapon-mounted light from this little company and then expect it to work. If you go to Safariland's website and you look at their light-bearing holsters designed to hold a gun with a flashlight attached to it, you're not going to find very many options for those holsters or for different lights. You're going to see options for Surefire, Streamlight, ITI, and Mod Light, most likely. You're not going to find an option for, and I'm sorry, but you're not going to find an option for O-Light. All right, you're just not going to find an option for that. And there's a reason why you're not going to find an option for a Glock 19 with an O-Light on there. That's because no police agencies or military agencies out there with people in charge of their acquisitions of gear with knowledge and training are going to pick a freaking O-Light for service. Now, you may have that few individual officers out there who've bought their own O-Light and may see them working out and about, but you're not going to see the quote-unquote supply person for a police agency going out and buying a whole shipment of O-Lights for their agency. If an agency is at that level where they've got it in their budget to buy things like that, then they've got other things going on that would put a person in that position to have a pretty good mindset on things and to know better than to buy O-Light products. So my rule, like one easy way to kind of figure out, hey, what's a good weapon light, is go to like the reputable duty grade holsters manufacturer like Safariland, and if you don't see one of those light options on there, then don't fucking get that light. All right, that's a pretty good rule of thumb. Another good rule of thumb is, what are the special operations group in the military using, and what is most police using? Most, like when I say most, I mean like all across the nation. Most, not like within one agency. I mean like across the nation. So if the majority of them are using Surefire and Streamlight, then that's probably what you need to get, is Surefire or Streamlight. Anyway,
Drop it!
moving on.
Drop it! Here! Diggle, here!
Police circumstances
We'll go to
discharging
the
it
other
at the second
view. I don't know if you ever had to climb fences and go over walls and shit, but that sucks. Like, it really does. So you see the dog run across, boom, boom.
Drop the gun!
So he delivers a couple of rounds. Who knows if his rounds hit or not? I wouldn't say it's very likely.
officers began life-saving measures on the suspect. Transferred away from his hand. Been fired.
Gun! Drop the gun now! Drop the gun now!
Hey, stay on him.
I got him.
Stay on
I'll stay on him.
him.
His finger's on the trigger. I got him.
Don't fucking move!
So at this point, they've got to make that approach, and they're not 100% sure if he's still in the fight or not. Yeah, I mean, running up and kicking the gun out of their hand is an option. Also, other options are you just stand back and, if you got a less lethal, someone's able to fire a beanbag round at him to get a better feel if this guy's actually out or if he's just playing possum, going to pop someone as soon as they get up on him. then by all means, consider that a risk. Consider that a possibility, and get a beanbag into play while everyone else is holding back, taking cover. Get someone with a beanbag, aim it at them into his gut area, pop them. Pop them twice. Use a 40 millimeter. If you don't get a reaction out of this person, then chances are they're not playing possum. I don't really know many people that can avoid flinching or moaning or anything when being hit with a beanbag round or a 40 millimeter impact munition. So I think those would have been good options to hit them with before making that initial approach, just to rule out the possibility that, he could be playing possum or anything like that. Taser, is taser an option? Yeah, sure, taser is an option, but it does cause his muscle contractions, and if he does have that gun in his hand and his trigger on the finger, then if his hand tightens, then his trigger finger could pull back on that trigger and fire another round. If that were to have happened, I can only imagine how many more rounds that they would have fired into him. So I don't think taser would have been the greatest option for this kind of scenario right here. But I certainly believe that, if they have a concern about this guy playing possum or still being able to fight as soon as they get on top of him, then hitting him with a beanbag or 40 millimeter impact would have been a good option. If you get zero reaction out of this guy after hitting him with that, then it should be a little bit safer to make that approach versus you really have no idea what his condition is and then making that approach. We don't get to see what kind of medical assistance they provide this guy. But, if you've got medical gear on you, then that's better. If you have the means to carry that medical gear on you, then you should. And it's not just for other people, but it's for you and your teammates or your loved ones, whether you're police or your security or just an armed citizen. If you carry the tools to induce trauma, then you should have the tools to reduce trauma. When it comes to armed citizens, concealed carry folks, you carry a gun because you recognize the fact that it may take too long for the police to get there. That's why you carry a gun, right? You can whip your gun out and use it a hell of a lot faster than a cop responding to your house. If you're going to have that same mindset, then you should also have that same mindset when it comes to the medical aspect of it. You should not think, oh, well, if I need help, I'll call the ambulance. That's a wrong mindset to have. Just like it's a wrong mindset of, well, if there's a guy trying to break into my house, I'll just call the police. Well, you already know that's fucked up because you carry a gun. You know it takes too long for the police to get there. So if you have the mindset of, oh, well, I'll just call an ambulance if there's medical problems, then your mindset's fucked up. You should carry medical gear on you because it takes too long for an ambulance to get there. Same for police and security. Obviously, you're paid to carry that gun, but are you paid to carry medical gear? No, not really. Should you carry medical gear? Absolutely. If you carry a gun, then you recognize the fact that you could be involved in some type of deadly physical encounter, that your life could be extinguished or you could be very severely injured. And if you're going to be carrying a gun with that possibility happening, then you should also carry medical gear. Gunfights, bullets go both ways, right? It's very easy to carry a very minimal amount of medical gear on you. Carry a tourniquet on you. You can have a medical ankle holster that carries a little blowout kit in there. If you got the outer vest thing going on, you got all these pouches on there. There's really no reason why you shouldn't have a medical pouch on there. The idea or the mindset of keeping your medical gear in your car is wrong. It's too far away. medical gear should be on you. Now, when it comes to rendering medical aid to other people, yeah, you can use that medical gear that's on you, but realistically, that medical gear that's on you, first line should be for you in the event you need to use it for yourself or your teammates. Now, so long as the team's safe and there's no other threats out there, yeah, go ahead and use that first line medical gear on you to be able to do stuff. If not, reserve it, hang on to it until you or a teammate could potentially be injured. Because let's say there's two of these dudes out there, right? And the other one's kind of nearby, and you go put on your tourniquet to this guy, and it's the only tourniquet in play. You put a tourniquet on him, and you cinch it down, and then boom, gunfight happens when his buddy comes around the corner and sees he's down and starts shooting at you and your partners, and then your partner gets hit, and he needs a tourniquet. What the fuck you gonna do? You gonna take that tourniquet off the bad guy and put it on your partner? No, you're not gonna be doing that. So if you know for sure that scene's safe to do so and it's all secure to do so, that's when you use that medical gear that's on you. Otherwise, the bad guys who just tried to kill you, they can fucking wait for other medical gear to get to them. As far as canine emergency medical care, so unfortunately the dog got shot in this incident. You could even hear the dog whimper after that last round. The dog takes off running. Canine guys out there, most of the gear for humans can be used on dogs. However, some things cannot be used on dogs, like a CPR face mask. That's not going to work on a dog. All right, it's not going to fit. It's not even the same damn shape, right? There's a special mask for dogs. It looks like it sounds fucked up, but it looks like a penis pump in a way. It's this long cylindrical object. It's clear, and it's made to fit over the snout of the dog. And there's a few different styles. There's one that's just for delivering oxygen that goes over their snout. And then you've got another one that is basically like a CPR mask, but for dogs. And then there's also another one that has like a little suction kind of accordion thing on there for sucking out blood and stuff that's in the airway. Now, when it comes to things like a nasopharyngeal airway for humans, that's not going to work on dogs. The oral pharyngeal airways, the little J-hook things, the little plastic pieces that look like the letter J, that's not going to work on dogs. It's just the anatomy is completely different. Gauze, bandages, quick clot, things like that, that's going to work. Tourniquets, depends on what kind of tourniquet you got. A standard cat tourniquet or a soft tourniquet, sure, it could kind of work. The problem, though, is the dog's limbs are so narrow that they're not going to get that good of a purchase on there. There is actually a canine-specific tourniquet that you can get. If you've ever had uniform pants that have those little rubber stitchings in them, like it goes all the way around the interior of the waistline, or if you've had a drop leg holster and the leg strap, it's got those little rubber stitchings on the inside to kind of keep it from drooping down, keep stuff in place. That doggy tourniquet kind of has that on the inside of it to prevent slippage. And it's also designed for the more narrower limb of a dog. A rat's tourniquet, I think, would probably be a pretty good option for a dog if you're not going to be buying the canine-specific tourniquet. Aside from that, a decompression needle, I don't really know enough to know if a human decompression needle would work for a canine. I don't know if it might be too long for a dog. It's certainly something that is possible. Now, that's getting a little far into it. But aside from that, all the other human stuff will mostly work. It's just the airway stuff that you use for humans is not going to work on dogs. So you're going to have to get a more specific airway kit for a dog. Now, another thing with dogs is when you're rendering medical care to them and they're still conscious and they got a bullet wound on their leg and you go press that on that bullet wound, they don't understand things like we do, and they will respond to that as you causing them pain, and they might bite you. Even though you're the handler, you're their buddy, they might still bite your ass. You finally get them to the vet, they don't know who the hell the vet people are. They're in pain and someone's pressing on that, they're going to bite the shit out of them. So another crucial component or piece of gear for a canine first aid kit is a muzzle. Whether that be a hard muzzle, your hard traditional muzzle that you can slip over the entire snout, or you can use some gauze wrap or something like that, something to wrap around the snout and keep it in place. Maybe one of those little rubber tourniquets that you would use for, IVs or something like that. Having something like that in your kit to be able to wrap around the snout and keep their mouth closed so they don't bite you or other people that are trying to give them care. That's gonna be an important piece of equipment as well. But pretty much all the hemostatic stuff that's used for humans can be used on the dogs. It's just the airway stuff is different, and you'll have to get with a veterinarian to get some of that stuff, or there's a couple places online that you can find to be able to get that canine airway management stuff. And it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. But if you're very into wanting to provide that type of medical care to your fur baby, then those are the options you've got. Especially if the dog is going to be going in the harm's way and is at risk of being shot, then you should definitely have your first aid kit for the dog as well. Now the other thought to that process is the dog is expendable equipment, just as if a flashlight is an expendable piece of equipment. I don't like that mindset. I'm more of a dog person myself, but that is a mindset of some administrators.
Drop it!
So this guy, he goes behind cover. It's not the greatest cover in the world, but he is behind cover. He still has the gun in his hand when he's behind this cover. I have no problem with the amount of times he fired at this guy, and even continued to fire onto him when he got on the ground, because you can still see that gun in his hand. He's still a viable threat with a gun in his hand, no matter how many times you shot him.
Drop it! Drop it! Here! Dingo, here!
During the suspect was pursuing any firearm direct scene, but succumbed to his gunshot injuries away from his hand. Inspection of the suspect's firearm, a revolver.
Now, I wish that these entities would give more information about the guns, like where it came from. And if it was a stolen firearm, then I would like if they provided information on the circumstances of how this gun was stolen. And if it was stolen from the center console of a car, they need to put that person on blast. They need to, if they can't do anything to them legally for storing their firearm haphazardly like that, then they should at least put them on blast and say, hey, this guy kept his gun in the middle console of his car that does not lock, doesn't even have a lock on it, kept in the middle console of his car, and it was easily stolen by someone car hopping. He's indirectly responsible for this canine's death. And if the officer was shot and injured or even killed, they're responsible for that. I am not a fan of how people store their firearms when they're not on them or with arm's reach. Not every gun that's used in the street is a stolen gun. There are some that are straw purchases and stuff like that. Some of them are legitimate gifts from families and stuff. But there's a lot of them. They are stolen guns. And these stolen guns, a lot of times, are stolen out of cars that are left unattended. And either the cars are unlocked or the middle console is where it's left at. And of course, the middle console doesn't lock. Or it's left in a house and it's not even in a safe or has a trigger lock on it or anything. It's just sitting on top of a nightstand, sitting in a nightstand, sitting in the sock drawer, sitting on the top shelf in the closet. If it's a rifle or shotgun, it's behind the bedroom door or inside the closet. Completely unsecured and fully functional. I'm a believer that your gun should always be on you. You should have that fighting gun on you. If your gun is not on you or within arm's reach of you, then that gun might as well be 100 miles away from you. And if it's going to be 100 miles away from you, then any gun that is not under your direct control, meaning it's on you or with arm's reach of you, if it's not under your direct control, then that gun needs to be made either inaccessible or inoperable to unauthorized users. Either put in a safe, put it in some type of locked compartment, make it harder for someone to get to, or put a trigger lock on it or run a cable lock through it and make it inoperable so that if you do leave it in the nightstand, then the trigger lock on it should prevent someone from very easily putting that gun into use, into play. Too many stolen guns out there are used in these kind of crimes, and when these stolen guns are used in crimes, it just gives more ammo to the anti-gun crowd to come after our guns. Not much else to say about this. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.